Welcome to the Dream Team Academy podcast, where we help you make your business dreams come true.
So, welcome back to yet another Dream Team Academy podcast, where we introduce you to people who are going to inspire you to live your business dreams. Today, we have a lovely gentleman who is going to help you get shit done. Yes, you heard that. This man is a strategy and execution coach. Yep. Did you know these things existed? They do. So we're going to introduce you to Ryan Jones from the west of England. Thank you for being here today, Ryan.
Hey, Lisa. Thanks very much. Great to be here. Great to share with people.
Yeah, excellent. So Ryan has I met Ryan many years ago when we were actually in the coaching course together, and it's been brilliant because I've got to know Ryan and I've watched his journey and I've watched him change. Because if any of you listening are actually coaches, you'll know that it's one hell of a journey with many peaks and troughs. That's what it is. And it is those of us who are determined and resilient and have big dreams and big goals that burn through those troughs to come back to the peaks. So tell us a little bit about how, Ryan, you even got started as a coach. What was your background? What made you go into the coaching arena?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Interesting story, because I was like a lot of people. I was in a career for 20 years, kind of following the path that we're all told to follow. Earning the money, having the family, buying the house. And eventually I kind of just had an opportunity opened in 2010 for me to start a business. Two other fellas said to me, hey, should we go into business together? So I was in telecoms for 20 years and we set up a telecoms business. And that was our baptism of fire on this roller coaster that you just referred to. And one of the there was quite a few interesting learning curves, but over a period of time, we had one of the chaps fall out from the business. You know, he said he couldn't handle the transition from corporate to small business world. And it left me pretty much running and owning the business myself. And often not sleeping at night and, worrying about how I was going to get enough money together to pay the bills, all the usual things that we experience. And during that journey, which was, I had the business for 5 years, I went out to try and find coaches to help me grow the business. And I looked in various places, and pretty much everybody who rocked up to my door tended to be somebody who had come out of a corporate background, never owned a business before, had this Bible that they presented to me about how businesses were run, and just had no credibility about the real world that I found myself in. And, it immediately turned me off engaging with a coach. Because I just felt like I couldn't get credible help from somebody who had already retired, potentially already had a pension sorted, had no financial woes, slept soundly at night. There was no pressure in their world. And here I was like, how am I keeping this going? How can I actually achieve the success I want to achieve? How can I pay the bills? How can I grow? How can I recruit people? How can, all the challenges that small business owners are faced with. So one of the things I deducted from having my first company was that it was in something that I had no interest in. So telecoms had been my career and it's what I'd fallen into, but I had no passion around it whatsoever. And when I discovered this, I realized that journey for me wasn't right. So that's when I decided that I needed to sell that business and find something that I absolutely loved. So I sold the business and my passion then, having gone through the roller coaster, was to go and help other business owners, because I'd witnessed that journey firsthand. I'd been through a lot of the challenges and the pain. I had managed to build a successful business, a profitable business, and I'd managed to sell it successfully, which are all key parts of most business journeys that people go on. And I felt that I could offer some authentic credibility having gone on the journey.
Yeah.
So that's what sparked my interest in going into coaching.
But you are currently a strategy and execution coach. So that sounds like a bit of a pivot from where you start. So did you start out as a small business coach, or did you start out as something else, or what was your first?
My first piece of work that I won as a coach was I worked for a company that was a franchise business, basically in the HR industry. So they would get new franchisees come along and sign up to become a franchise. And then I would work with them for 6 months, do an induction program, and then be their coach for 6 months to make sure that they got that traction and momentum as they started the business and focused on the right tasks to get that traction and momentum, get their brand out there, start networking with people, start talking to people, how to win customers, right conversations to have. Because I have a big background as well in sales, although I'm not like the most prolific, what you might call hunter salesperson. I've been a relationship person all my career. You know, I've had a big background hanging in and around sales, so it made it quite comfortable for me to speak to them about this thing that a lot of people struggle with: sales. You know, getting new business, asking for a sale, getting it over the line, and doing the engagement, because they don't like being sold to themselves.
Yes, exactly. It's very English also.
Exactly. So that was my first project, and I got 22. I worked with 22 of those franchises, and 20 of them are still up and running today, doing really well, which is fantastic. Really nice kind of hit rate. And the other 2 are only not around because they decided, having made the investment, that actually a bit like someone that worked with me in my first business, they just struggled with that transition from corporate security into the unknown.
Let's discuss that a minute, because I think that's really interesting. So in your experience, what do you think it takes to not struggle with it? Do you see, like, there's 2 types of people: the people that can go out on their own, and the people that they really feel the need for corporate? So what is it about the people that do thrive on their own? What do you think is different about them, or special?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think it's all about your purpose and your ambition to achieve what your purpose is. It's how much you love what you do and how far you're willing to go. I think, in my experience, I've seen many business owners that have a business that's survived 10 years, but they're not happy. You know, they're doing something they don't have the passion in. They often say to me, I don't know why I ever did this. It was supposed to be my path to freedom, my path to control, my path to financial security, which tend to be the 3 things that I find most people are after when they go into business for themselves. The challenge is, if you don't pick something that you love and that you're really passionate about on that roller coaster ride that we talked about, what's going to get you out of bed in the morning? Because that's what happened to me in my first business. I got to a stage where I was almost burnt out in year 5 of that business. And I'd get up in the morning and I'd have no enthusiasm for it, because it was a topic that I had no passion for. Whereas, ironically enough, going into the coaching world, that's coaching is seen as a bit of a luxury to some people as opposed to a necessity. And therefore it can be harder to convince people to invest in it, but then those that invest in it end up going on to do some really amazing, successful things. So the thing that gets me up in the morning with this is that I love seeing people's success, and I just want success for them. And that really warms my heart, puts a massive smile on my face, and I love doing it every day. So
what I'm actually saying is that you have to have a heart for serving. And I think that if people have, if it's tricky, because you can make a lot of money working for yourself as well. But if you're just doing it for the money, it's sometimes easier just to go and get a job and just work your way up in the corporation and get the bonuses and do what they tell you to do, and then build the money and invest it in other ways. If you're going out as an entrepreneur, it requires some kind of passion. If you don't have the passion, you will burn out. I think that's what you're saying. I mean, Simon Sinek, is the master of the why. We all have to have clarity on the why, and that is maybe the question that people don't ask themselves often enough. Why are you doing what you're doing? I mean, people, as you say, they get on this bus of life, and they get a degree, and then they become an engineer, and then they work for an engineering firm, or maybe they end up doing the sales for the engineering firm, and they just keep going because they've never stopped to go, is this all there is?
Yeah.
Or am I loving this? Or they might be, I'm a bit tired, but oh, well, obviously the job's hard. And they look at their bank, it's okay, I'm paying the mortgage, I've got the kids in school, everything's cool. It's the brave ones, I think. And I think this podcast is for people who are brave enough not to go and do stuff. That's not brave. To ask yourself, what do you really want? And are you living the life that you truly desire? And that's a very brave question, because what if the answer is no? What if
and I think the other thing, just to add to that, that's a really, really valid. And it's like, how far are you prepared to go to make it happen? Because I think, again, the whole kind of pivot, when things don't work out, when it goes down, when I mean, my background, and we might talk a bit on it later. I've rolled this over a few times. I've gone back and worked. There's lots of experiences I've had, but I'm still going because I know I'm going to make it work, and I know it's going to be my vision. That's the other thing, I think. Vision. The other thing that is really easy to spot when I talk to people is, if you ask them what their vision is, you see them in their heads making it up on the spot. Because they don't have clarity around their vision. They don't know what that big outcome is. They don't know where they're heading. They don't know what the dream is. And therefore, if you imagine having 10 conversations over a week, and each time you have a conversation, someone says, what's your vision? And you're making it up in your head, you will have 10 variants of your vision. I guarantee it. And therefore, if you have 10 variants of your vision, what are you aiming for? Because you don't even know yourself.
Said like a strategy and execution coach. You have everything written down, you have everything clear, you have every mission statement, your vision statement, you're going to have your goals, you're going to have mission objectives. I can hear the business plan right now. Excellent stuff. But let's go back in your story. So when you started coaching, we got the basics, why you started coaching, but did you know how to go? One of the things I find that a lot of people, in my experience, when they start coaching, they have this expertise, but they don't know how to coach. So did you do anything about coaching? Do you need training in that? Or is it something you learned over time?
For me, it's the latter. Now, I'm not saying that's the right path. That's just the path that I have followed, and not deliberately. It's just something where, one of the things, again, that I've found I've enjoyed people feeding back to me is authenticity. It's just being yourself and not adopting somebody else's approach. And I talk a lot in my teaching about what I call the 5% club, which isn't a unique philosophy. It's just, it's actually saying that I could coach any small business owner out there on the planet, which means my target audience could be millions of people. The reality is there's 5% of that audience who really want what I deliver and will really embrace it and really take it forward. And that's where I need to focus my time and effort. And a lot of that 5% for me are looking for someone who's been on the journey, is authentic, can just have the honest and open conversation and share those journeys and those experiences together. So I haven't done any professional coaching. Could it benefit me? It probably could. And it should be something that I take a look at.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of people confuse themselves and become doubtful. I mean, I've worked with many coaches, and they ask this question, how do I do this coaching thing? It isn't that complicated, but it is just like anything else in life. It's a skill. And so I was just curious. I always ask everyone. I have an NLP coaching certificate, and that was my introduction, but that's the only coaching, and the rest, like you, I've learned on the fly. And I was an equestrian coach for 40 years. So I was trained to teach riding. And I think if you're trained to teach something and coach in some area, you kind of get the skill. So anyway, moving on. So what are some of the struggles that you have faced in your coaching journey? And this is something we like to discuss here, because so many people go, oh, it's great to be a coach and you're going to make millions and you're just going to set up your business. The clients are going to fly in. And that isn't necessarily how it always works for everyone, at least at the beginning. So tell me a little bit about what you've experienced.
Yeah, well, definitely that 5% ruling didn't help me at the beginning, because I went out thinking I could just help anyone. And I got quite frustrated at points, thinking, why do you not see the benefit in what I do? You know, when you talk to people, or why would you not jump on board and utilize what I have to offer? And the reality is, it was quite a lot down to the audience mindset. You know, you must find people that are open to coaching. You must find people that are prepared to invest in coaching. And I think through that whole trial and error, you got to, and this is where it kind of did help having a bit of a sales background, is putting good qualification questions together, to actually ascertain where someone was in their head about how receptive they were to coaching, how receptive they were to investing in coaching. And I do, when I started my journey, I was focused on local businesses in the southwest of the UK. And this is my opinion, not necessarily right or wrong, but my experience of the UK is that we're quite blinkered when it comes to receiving coaching and investing in coaching. We have this kind of barrier and wall, and some of it is caused by the very experience that I went through myself. The fact that most of the coaches that rock up in people's worlds have been people who don't have the credibility behind them. And therefore, that's what gets talked about in the wider sphere. And then, so if I go and speak to Sarah and say, hey, Sarah, here's a great thing I can work with you on, and this will really help accelerate your business. And then Sarah goes away and says, okay, let me think about it. I'm going to talk to a couple of people. And Sarah talks to someone who's 50 or 60 and has that mentality that I mentioned earlier about how coaching's never helped them.
Yeah.
Sarah comes around and says, thanks very much, Ryan, but no. Yeah. So I think that was probably my biggest early challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's actually getting worse because we've had a lot of people enter the coaching space, and that has meant the average standard has actually gone down. In a way, the top coaches are better than ever because they're really on top of their game, but you had a lot of people enter at the bottom level who thought, oh, this was a quick way to make a buck. And gave the industry a bad name. So if you are thinking of hiring a coach, and whatever your background is, what would you suggest, Ryan? What would you suggest people look for then? What would be the sort of 3 or 4 good things to look for in a coach?
Well, certainly, I think is when you target your audience again, is make sure that you've been through what they've been through. Make sure you have some credibility to bring to the table. The other thing that you probably yourself picked up on when we were on the program in the run in the US, was think about. I think when coaches think about they could help any business, can you help a business where they're bigger than where you've been before? No, you can't. So think about where your ideal client is on their journey, and that they're 1 step or 2 steps behind where you are. Because that enables you to really relate to where they are here and now and what gets them to that next level. If you try and go out there pretending you can teach someone that takes them straight to level 5, way past where you are now, then, the credibility comes into question again there.
And also, I'm so sorry, I cut you off.
No, go on. Yeah.
No, and also, you're going to be pushing yourself out of your comfort zone way too far, and then imposter syndrome and sort of thing crops up.
Correct.
Now, it's interesting because you said, and the mentor that we share, he does teach that you can be 1 or 2 steps ahead. As long as you're ahead, it's okay. And then there are people who go, oh my God, no, I want to be with like super fantastic gazillionaire guy who's making $1 million a month. And I'm just going to say something about that, because I can see why people feel that way. But I have now worked with, very, very lucky. I've worked with some of the most incredible people in the industry because I wanted to learn everything I could so I could do the Dream Team Academy. I could create this way of making people's dreams come true. And I had to learn because I was like, I'm not quite sure how to do this. I knew what the dream was, but you need to learn how to implement it. You have to have your strategy, and I had to learn. But some of the gurus who were super brilliant were not helpful to me because they couldn't relate. And that is the key thing. So when you're looking, I want the best, the best, the best. And I made that mistake. If I pay him that much money, he's so good. But that person's attached. They don't even remember getting their first client. They don't remember what it's like to be in the trenches. They have teams of 50 people working for them, and they have ad budgets that are, 50,000 a month because they're bringing in 200,000 a month, They can no longer relate. And the market changes like everything in marketing and sales. it's never static, it's dynamic. The trends of what's in fashion, what works, what doesn't work, the algorithm of social media, everything's always changing. So you go to a guru who was in the trenches 10 years ago, unless they're really good in keeping up with the mentality, keeping up with the small people, it's not so good. So just be aware of that. That'd be one of my warnings, is don't necessarily think that the highest, most rich, most successful is the best. There will be a time to go to them, but you go to the person who can relate to where you are right now and make sure they can give you some personalized attention. So that's can
I add one word onto that will that my mind triggers every time we have this kind of conversation? Evolution. So basically, as your business evolves, when you're a startup, you need to be coached by someone who's started businesses. When you get to 1 million to 5 million, you need someone who's gone through that growth period of 1 to 5 million. When you get over the 5 million and you get bigger, you need to evolve coaches who actually have the experience of driving through businesses of that size. Exactly. You know, if you don't have the right scale of experience, it goes back to that credibility thing again, which is exactly what you're kind of hitting on here. You know, the evolution of your business will evolve evolution of who you use for coaches.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, okay, so the big question that people always wonder when they start in coaching is, do I quit my day job? So let's so how's your journey gone with that one?
Interesting, shall we say? Yes, yeah. Because I did quit my day job immediately, just without thought, day one when I first started up coaching. And so when I finished my telecoms career, I sold it and I basically worked for a year employed. And then that's when I said, right, cut the strings. I'm not going to work employed anymore, and I'm going to go into this new coaching industry. And very nerve-wracking, because I think you don't realize until you're put on that spot about the first month comes by and that paycheck doesn't land, and you've always had that paycheck dropping in, paying the bills, you know, and I think that's when reality strikes. So I think there would be lots of variance in advice on this based on different people's experiences, but I definitely feel you know, things like having a little bit of surplus cash somewhere that you can draw upon, because this journey isn't fast. Okay, I think that's the big mistake, and I think you've already potentially made reference to it in this interview, that people expect quick wins. They expect to be able to get revenue in seconds, and this is my experience, if you genuinely look at most businesses where the business owners are comfortable with where that business is, it's a 10-year journey. It's a 10-year journey. So that doesn't mean that they could not afford to live for 10 years.
Yeah.
That just means they get into a status where they're thinking, okay, I'm doing all right. I'm making money now. I'm starting to be able to do the things in life I want to do. I've got people doing some of the work for me. Our customers have grown. But the interesting thing there, so my whole philosophy around my business is, roughly speaking, depending where you research, there are 400 million small businesses on the planet. Which is a massive number, but 70% fail before their 10-year anniversary.
70%.
70%, yeah. And the 30% that survive do exactly that. They just survive. I have met so many people with businesses over 10 years old, as I mentioned before, who are unhappy running them. It's only 5% of them that thrive. So and that's the big difference.
How? Okay, as wearing your strategic hat, how do you help people make sure that they're in the right business and developing their business the right way, so that they don't fall into that surviving and miserable bracket? How do you help them?
So, well, a lot of early qualification. So some of the key things that we really work on to start off with is that kind of mindset piece, and who you're serving and why you're doing it, what you're looking for out of life, you know, making sure that there's some kind of vision. The other dangerous pitfall I see people falling into, and that includes some of those 10-year plus business owners, is their life is dictated by their business. Their business doesn't serve their life, and that's and the business should serve your life goals.
100%.
You know, we most of us don't go into business wanting to be a prisoner to our business. We're looking for the business to open doors in life.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's something that I think is really key. So the other thing that I do, which not everybody does, or it's really difficult to do when you're an early stage business, is say no to people. To say, I can't coach you because you're not in the right place for me, or I don't believe where you're going is the right decision for you to make. And so that's quite a tough thing to say to someone. But what an injustice to actually lead them down the garden path, knowing that the outcomes that are going to be coming on their journey, if they're not actually set up ready to do this and they're not in the right place.
Yeah, but that again makes you one of what I call the high integrity coaches. And that's one of the things when you're looking for a coach, that you get a sense, unfortunately, mentioning no names, one of my clients worked and paid a lot of money to an English coach, and she ended up just being completely sickened by it because it was very high pressure sales. And that wasn't what she wanted to do. She's a healer, and the people in the healing modalities, that sales is something that is quite often hard for them, and they're not going to be energetically suited to dial. That is definitely not going to be their way. And so I'm sure that particular coach works really well for some young guy. He's like going to sell real estate and he's going to, whatever. So it's finding the coach and the client that fits. And that's what you're saying, 100%. That you look for clients that you can help, that there's a match energetically, business agenda, mission statement, everything has to match. And as you guys, if you're looking for a coach, that's what you have to look at. Who matches me? Don't be sort of, guided by the stars and the razzle dazzle. Look at who's actually going to match with you.
I'll also give you just a quick little interesting story, which fascinated me and was an outcome I never predicted. I set up a program in 2020 and ran it on a beta trial, but with just 5 people, and they all paid $2,000 for the program. One of the participants finished the program and said to me, Ryan, thank you very much. You've taught me that I am not ready or right to set a business up, and you've just saved me investing £50,000 in setting the business up.
My goodness, that's an incredible recognition. Yeah, wow.
Isn't it? And that's not an outcome I expected. I my vision was taking these 5 people into how they could rocket forward with their businesses, and 4 of them did.
Yeah.
But one of them turned around and said, I'm so grateful to you because I would have wasted all of my money going into something that I'm not ready or right for.
Yeah, and I actually witnessed in a program a young lady, and actually she wasn't so young. I don't know how old she was. I don't know why I'm giving you that detail, but anyway, she came into the program, and I teach viral organic marketing. I learned from a mentor of viral organic marketing, which doesn't require ads. And this lady was used to advertising, and she came into the program, and she realized that it's not a lot of work, but there's some work. There's you actually have to work.
Yes. Yeah.
She completely freaked out. It's I don't want to do that. That's not what I do. I'm just hand it to my BA. Okay. And again, so it's horses for courses. You have to recognize what you're willing to do. But it was good. So she instantly recognized, and she was actually given her money back, and she went on her way. And that was a great outcome for her, that she suddenly recognized, I love ads. Ads are my answer. That's what I want to do. I don't want to have to do anything else. And you learn what works for you. And there are many roads to Rome. Some are better than others according to who you are.
Yeah. And I think that's the other great thing about coaching, and actually, knowing who you can serve best and who to say no to, because the reality is there are so many people out there that learn in so many different ways. Some people like to read a lot and absorb a lot. Some people just want to watch videos and absorb and learn in their own time. Yeah. Some people like the one-to-one interaction. Some people like the group coaching where they can have, so for instance, these 5 people on the program were bouncing off each other with their ideas and their experiences, and they loved that. And then, they've now formed a little group of 5 friends for life, which is heartwarming, that they now keep in touch. Yeah. So I think, again, it's almost when you're talking to people, it is, how do you learn best and what kind of environment do you want to be in?
So, okay, Now, moving forwards, tell us about what you're doing now. So you are currently doing your strategy and implementation. So what does that actually mean? What are you going to be helping your clients with? Help us explain to us, what that means you're going to do for your clients. So just in case there's someone listening who goes like, this is exactly who I need.
Okay, cool. So one of the things I experienced with coaching, and again, it's got more and more common, is that there's so many coaches out there, you get bombarded with people who kind of inspire you, get your mindset in the right place, and then you come off a program you've invested in and you're all hyped up, but you don't know what to do next. And then all of a sudden you get drawn back into the whirlwind, as I call it, of daily survival. You don't implement what you learn. And then you think, oh, I'm going to now have to reinvest in a refresher of that. And you go round and round and round in cycles doing that. So the big part of, as crude as it sounds, and you explained at the beginning, is get shit done. So shit stands for super high important tasks.
Yay, love it.
So for me, this is all about taking action. And when I look back on my career history, one of the things, the skills that I realized I had is I'd been writing for 20 years sales forecasts, profit and loss sheets, operating forecasts and costs, and then implementing those plans because I was highly targeted. So I thought what I could do based on my experience of my first business and feeling quite lost is amalgamate all of that real life experience with then the planning experience. And what I do is I help people then who are inspired and know what they want to do to plan out those tasks and build milestone ambitions, and then tell them what to prioritize on, help them recognize what to prioritize on. Because the key thing is you can get out of bed as a business owner every day and all of a sudden you just look at your emails. Oh, I need to respond to that. Oh, I need to do that. Oh, I've got to do that. And then all of a sudden, your day's gone. And you've helped some people, but you've not helped you in your business. You've not helped you. You're in this business for a reason. And if you're going to grow and if you're going to expand and you're going to serve more and more people and help them with their problems, you've got to be focused on growing your business. So the accountability, the structure, the plan, know what to get out of bed of and concentrate on every day is what I specialize in.
And I think there isn't a person on the planet that couldn't benefit from that. Funnily enough, even in their personal life, let alone their business life, strategy, execution of everything. It is so key. So give us a clue right now. So if anyone listening, maybe what are 2 or 3 things that someone can do to make their day more productive? What would be 3 tips you have?
Okay, that's a good one. So the first thing is know yourself and what you're good at what time of the day. So we're all different people. For me, I'm a bundle of energy first thing in the morning, and I go to bed early. That's just me. So I know that if there's something a task that I've got to put high energy into, I must put it in my diary for the morning, not the afternoon. So there's a little bit of advice.
That's great.
The other thing is, I call it the decision triangle. Really, really simple tool. Again, there are other sort of iterations of it, but basically know your objective. If you've got a task that disrupts you in the day, at the top of the triangle, you write your objective. The bottom 2 left-hand corners, you write help or hinder. And then you look at what you've been asked to do as a distraction. Will it help your objective? Will it hinder your objective?
Simple, but effective.
Yeah. Whichever the outcome is, if it's a hinder, ignore it, throw it away. If it's a help, do it.
Gosh, that's cool. Go on, one more. I love it.
One more. Okay, cool. Always know and stick to you break down your milestones. So for instance, you'll have a 12-month outcome of your goals. When we look too far ahead at what that big outcome is, sometimes we can get a bit overwhelmed by it because it just feels too far out of reach. So you must break down milestones into quarterly, monthly, and weekly tasks that deliver that overall 12-month objective. And that's something that we teach predominantly on the course, because people can go and do that themselves, but they don't have a methodology to think it through, and they often then select the wrong tasks.
No. Oh, brilliant tips. I'm writing notes. Okay, so Okay, so oh gosh, you've been so generous with your time. The last thing I want you to do is actually tell us about your program and what you're doing and how people can reach you. Obviously, anyone's interested in working with Ryan, you can go to the show notes below, have all his information there, so you can reach out to him. But just briefly, just tell us what they would expect if they come to work with you.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so we start off with an 8-week program, which basically takes you through 5 areas of setting up your business. So this is all about kind of vision and mindset. It's all about your purpose and your proposition. And then we talk about strategy and planning. Then we talk about sales and marketing as well, because I have this sales background. It's about helping people not fear sales from a perspective of feeling like a salesperson and actually owning what they do to help people, so that they have a good outlook on not selling, but helping people. And then we talk about maintenance, because when you have a plan, the biggest thing people do is they go on a program like this, and then at the end of the 8 weeks, they go, great, I've written this plan, and it stays somewhere in a file on the computer, or it gets printed off and put on a shelf somewhere. And then nobody ever actually goes back to it. And I've been guilty of that in my career and my first business. So maintenance is a key aspect. And that's what we teach in the last module, is all about how to maintain your plan.
Well, it sounds like business mastery.
Absolutely.
I love it.
We call it mastering strategy. And the idea with the program is when you come on the program, you actually get 12 months worth of everybody who goes on the program joins a private Facebook group, and every week we catch up together. We talk about what challenges people have, so that you can implement that journey and be accountable for going through those steps afterwards.
Wow, it sounds cool. I'm signing up. So okay, so I am so grateful for this time. I really appreciate you finding the time to talk to us today. Everyone, if you need to get shit done, this is the man. I just love the SHIT.
What does it stand for, Lisa? Super high important tasks.
Yeah. It's amazing. I love that. We need to put that everywhere and blazing in neon lights. It's just amazing.
The trademark's coming.
It's coming. Thank you so much, Ryan. It has been such a pleasure to be with you. Please make sure I've got everything that I can give to recommend you to everyone for the show notes. And we just hope you have the most amazing year with your coaching.
Thank you.
You are just I'm going to little tiny plug. So we are very, very lucky at the Dream Team Academy that we did actually get to do a little bit of work with Ryan. So if you join the Dream Team Academy, you actually get to have some access to Ryan, so you can have a sneak peek and work with him a little bit. And then if you want to go and work with him full time, you can go and do his program, but you get to have a tiny bit of him in my program. So we only have the best in the Dream Team Academy. You see, now you see why. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And I hope that's just helped anyone, like spur them on, have a thought. If there's an action they can take away from it, fantastic. And thank you so much for the opportunity to join you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Dream Team Academy podcast. Tune in for our next podcast soon, where you too can find out how you can make your business dreams come true.